Have you been finding that you like the Chicago beers up there?
Been trying a few different ones. I guess I don't really have like a favorite
Hmm.
yet. Um, yeah, I don't know. I just try a lot of new stuff.
this this can art cracks me up. Like this dude, this
This
dude
like
on
wizard
the chill dude on a
skater.
longboard with the drug rug. Yeah.
Yeah, he has like a wizard staff, like
uh
outer in.
That's funny. All right, babies, we're back.
Whoa,
Woo!
finally.
It's been just about an entire year, a little bit more. I looked at our last upload was March 15th of 2021. So we are
Uh, yeah, that's quite a while.
we're sorry to keep you waiting,
I know. I
but
can't believe people waited this long.
I know I've been getting emails and emails. Are you guys okay? Where are you? Are you fine? Do you need help? We need
No,
your
we're
help.
good.
But we're good. We're all good and we're here and we're starting this back up again a little late with our favorites of 2021 as well as and I appreciate Matt for uh humoring me with this because I really wanted to talk about this album Ants from Up There by Black Country New Road, um, which is not everybody's cup of tea, but I appreciate you hanging in there and listening to it, giving it a shot.
It was definitely an interesting listen, something
Hmm.
different that I wouldn't like gravitate towards.
Yeah,
But yeah, I had definitely it was definitely worth listening to. We'll
nice.
talk about it more.
I heard it described as rich kid music.
Rich kid music, interesting. I can kind of
Which
I
made
feel
me
like that's
kind of
funny.
laugh. Yeah,
It's I feel like Vampire Weekend is rich kid music.
yeah. I put them like kind of. It's like Vampire Weekend, Arcade Fire, sort of
Hmm.
like.
Yeah.
They're like rich. Even though this is a British band, but I can see like kids in Massachusetts like listening to this. So.
Yeah, I get it. It makes
Mhm.
sense.
But yeah, but as always with tradition, we will start off with our beers because this is the number one beer and music podcast on the internet.
Numero uno.
Hmm.
Why don't you start? Because yours
Okay.
is funny.
So this beer is called Beer Me by what is quickly becoming, if not already, is my favorite brewery in Columbus here, Seventh Son. That I feel like they don't miss very often, and
Mm-mm.
I enjoy their experiment more. Excuse me, than my other favorite brewery, which is Columbus Brewing Company, which well, they've got some mainstay staples, but I like the experiments that Seventh Son does. And so they have this beer. It's a hazy IPA called Beer Me, and it caught my eye in the cooler section of the beer store next to me, because all of the cans are like these 3D wrapped faces of the employees that work at Seventh Son, and it's like very horrific. It's uncanny. It's like these like warped faces of all these smiling people around these cans, um, and like the hole that you drink out of is like right on their forehead. Um,
It's
but
it's bizarre mostly because it's like blown up and has to be wrapped around a can.
yeah, it's like very high def and close up face images. You can see like every blemish and like wrinkle. It's strange, but it caught my eye. That's why I got it. So it's kind of a great idea. Um,
Great marketing, Seventh Son.
yeah. 6.7% alcohol, so it's like a pretty heavy beer, like around the way you'd expect maybe for like a heavier IPA.
Hmm.
As far as like the hazy IPAs, which are like these are like all the rage now, aren't they? I see them everywhere. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
it's not as juicy, or it's not as like fruity as I generally would like a hazy IPA.
Hmm.
Um, so it isn't my favorite, but it definitely has some like subtle fruit undertones.
Hmm.
But because it doesn't have the really juiciness, and it also doesn't really have like the bitterness that you would expect with an IPA, it kind of falls in a weird middle
It's
ground that isn't.
it's a tweener.
It's a tweener. So it's all
Decide what you
right.
want to be.
Yeah, it's all right. I don't know if I would get it again, but it is a fun novelty can. And I'm gonna save. There's one with a cat on it that I'm probably gonna save because that one's pretty
Oh.
nice. Yeah.
Similarly, I chose mine. I have West Coast Wizard IPA from Miskatonic Brewing Company in Darien, Illinois, which I'm not exactly sure where that is,
Hmm.
but it has like this wizard hippie with the drug rug and wizard staff on a longboard,
Yeah.
and it's like a blue background with palm trees. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Hmm.
And let me let's give it a taste here.
Yeah. Let's hear. Hmm.
Yeah, I would say pretty similar to your beer actually.
Hmm.
Not like overly juicy, a little definitely fruity,
Hmm.
but on the drier side of the like West Coast IPAs.
Hmm.
But it's good. I enjoy it. Easily drinkable. You could definitely like go through three of these fairly quickly.
Very nice. We are recording this podcast at noon Matt's
Yeah,
time. So,
I'll try not to.
but all right, cool. Would you out of 10? What would you give the West Coast Wizard?
Oh, I would give it a
Or out of
out of
5,
a
if that's
six
easier.
out
Out
of
of
a
a
six
6.
pack out of
Mm-hmm.
a six. I would give it
Out of a 6,
I would give it a uh I'll go up to 4.5.
4.5. That's
Yeah,
that's pretty. That's good. Out of
it's
6,
good.
I'd give mine a 4 out of 6.
Okay, that's fair. I was
Hmm.
thinking four, but I was like, oh, this is actually good and very drinkable.
Hmm. Do you on like scales, like if you're taking like a doctor test or like some sort of like psychology test, and it's like 1, you're not likely to do this at all, and 5,
Hmm
you're extremely likely. Do you ever choose 1 and 5 on those things?
Very rarely.
Yeah,
I
I
don't.
like.
I can't remember the last time I did one of those though. So,
You don't take a which Harry Potter house test would you be like a lot?
oh,
Which
yeah, I guess
Pokemon
I do that
starter would you
sometimes.
be?
Oh, I haven't done that one. I really want to do that now.
But I'm like, I save those. I'm like, well, I would be likely to do that, but not extremely likely. And I save those, and then I end up never choosing. So I'm always like middle of the road on those things. I'm probably
Or which
very.
office character you
Which
are.
office character are you? Which office episode are you?
Which office episode am I? That's a great question.
Well, there's a test for you to find that out.
Oh my gosh. I have to go and do all these. I think sometimes I'd pick the one or five. Probably almost
Mhm.
never the one, because like would I never do that? I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, it's like
Am I
it's like
very likely to do it? I
mm,
guess.
how desperate am I in that
Yeah,
situation?
right. I never choose one. I guess I always choose two through five.
You're a positive person.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get the highest score.
Mm, there you go, bud. Okay, okay. Should we move into our faves? This is gonna be a bit of a curtailed or like cut down one because I think we both discussed that 2021 maybe wasn't our didn't speak to us entirely as far as music goes.
Yeah, I think that's why we didn't do like best
Hmm.
of 2021. It was the
Yeah,
first year that we haven't done it in a while.
yeah. That could definitely have been the case. It was just nothing like I like looked at my Spotify list of all the albums that I had saved in 2021, and there were like the majority were not of that year. They were all like outside of it. So,
Hmm Yeah, I picked three that I thought were really good,
hmm.
and yeah, I've been listening to them throughout the year. But again, I didn't do like deep notes because it wasn't like a super passionate music year, at least
Hmm.
of the albums that came out in 21.
Yeah, I chose 3 as well. So, um, I'm interested to hear what yours are. So let's start with number 3. What was your number 3
Number
album?
three.
Yeah.
Number three for me was Another Kill for the Highlight Reel
Oh,
by Safe
nice.
Face.
Hmm.
I don't know if that was on your list, but we talked about it a little bit.
We did, yeah.
It's basically like a My Chemical Romance nostalgia
Hmm.
album.
That
Um,
was a honorable mention of mine. I think I
Fair.
listened to it like twice or three times, maybe at
Hmm.
most. But yeah, it was. Yeah, I'll let you finish. But yeah, it was definitely like it hit a nostalgic note for me, but it wasn't like I didn't like need to. I would have just gone and listened to like My Chem if I like wanted to listen to My Chem.
Yeah, I think it escapes the MCR realm like a
Hmm.
little bit and does its own thing. It's not as grand as like Black Parade, which is like MCR perfection. Um, but it's good. I definitely listened to it multiple times, and the songs stick in my head quite a bit. Will I like remember it and think about this album in 10 years?
Hmm.
Probably not,
Yeah.
but it's one of my more enjoyed albums of 21. So that's why it gets included at number three.
Hmm.
What was your number three then?
Number three, mine was Half God by the rapper Wiki.
Mm,
Um, I don't
okay,
know
you
if
you
you,
mentioned him
yeah, I
before,
may
but
have
I
mentioned this.
haven't listened to
Hmm.
him.
It was, I originally had heard of Wiki on, he was on an Earl Sweatshirt album, the one, I don't like shit, I don't go outside.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
That's when I was introduced to him, and he's kind of been a little bit on my radar, but he's never really blown up for me. But this album was the first time he kind of went into an alternative hip hop production style similar to Earl Sweatshirt. What's Earl's been doing the past few years
Mm,
with the producer Navy Blue.
okay.
So I because I like love Earl, I really loved just the production style on this, and Navy Blue's production um, comes through. It's really great on this album, and Wiki changes up his lyric style into more conversational, intimate or observational lyrics, and it's kind of like just rambling storytelling almost. And there are no like real bangers on the track list, but
Mm,
it's a great like start to finish album. Um, Very meditative and interesting alternative hip hop album.
cool.
New York City based. So if you have
Um,
any love for the city of New York City, which Matt, I don't know if you still have love for that city, um,
well,
but
it's mixed feelings.
yeah, but it makes me nostalgic for New York, even though I've like visited it maybe three times. So
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I
hmm.
I think I did listen to a couple of songs. I was like, yeah, this is very like East Coast style.
Hmm.
Nice. Moving on then.
Hmm.
My number two was Fuck Art by The Dirty Nil.
Okay,
I don't
you're a big Dirty Nil stan.
I am. I really like them.
Hmm.
I liked Master Volume more than this album,
Hmm.
but I will say like they're a lot like Pup in that they write catchier and catchier hooks like each
Yeah.
time. This album is more refined and better production value than previous albums. But they also didn't lose like their really like hard garage rock sound.
Hmm.
Kind of like if I compare them to White Reaper, who like in their more recent album lost some of the edge that I enjoyed like in their
Hmm.
earlier albums. I think this Fuck Art is still um like edgy but also super catchy.
Nice.
And this is definitely the album where like I have the most songs stuck in my head at all times. It's just like really catchy hooks.
Hmm. I'll have to. I'm not sure I checked this one out. I liked. I go further back into Dirty Nils. I really liked Higher Power, and
Yeah,
for
I like
whatever
that.
reason, like Master Volume, I liked, but it didn't stick with me quite as much as their. Was it their first album, Higher Power?
I think
Um,
that was their first full length or studio
yeah.
album.
Yes.
But yeah, Higher Power is also very good.
Mm-hmm.
I think you would like this. I think you would like Fuck Art.
Okay.
It's
I'll add
super
it. I'm
catchy
adding
and
it to my Spotify right now.
yeah, some of the hooks are really funny too,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it'll get stuck in your head.
Okay. Nice. Anything else for fuck art?
Oh, I mean, just like check them out live if you get a chance.
Oh yeah, if they ever
They're
come to
really good.
Columbus or anywhere near.
hmm they unfortunately changed their bass player.
Hmm.
The old guy that they used to have was hilarious. Like he just has like crazy eyes. And I would just watch him and just
Like on
laugh.
stage.
Yes, he's a psycho. But
Maybe that's
unfortunately
why
now they have
they
this.
got rid of him.
Yeah, he might have been too crazy. I don't know. But yeah, so now they got this new guy who's still good. He has high energy, and
Hmm.
the lead guitarist and vocalist is like really really good.
Oh yeah, I like
He's
his
like
vocals a lot.
very talented.
Um, cool. Yeah, I've been hoping this summer there might be like a Friday or Saturday like Chicago show that I could drive up and like we could all go see.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
because I've noticed that bands are starting to skip Columbus more and more and just go to either Detroit or Chicago like for this
Huh.
geographic region like and it kind of
I wonder if
sucks.
it's a venue thing.
It could be a venue thing and if they do come to Columbus it's always like a Wednesday night and it's
Mm,
being a 30-year-old man now that doesn't work for
yeah,
me anymore.
right. Yeah, I'll definitely look for some Friday or Saturday shows this
Hmm.
summer.
Sick. Yeah. Let's see. My number two was LP by JPEG Mafia.
Okay.
Um, so once again, I've got a couple. Even though I wouldn't say hip hop is like my favorite genre, I think this is 2 years in a row that I've had like hip hop albums in my top.
Yeah,
Um,
you're a rap man.
I'm a rap man now. I've been. Let's see. What do I have to say about this? Because I'm not a huge actual like hip hop fan. I don't have all the words that I like to have to describe the music, but it's just a high quality album, like unique, memorable production. Like JPEG Mafia's flow and bars are like he can be funny, he can be really like it's like hot bars, like really
Mhm.
great flow. He just is like a master of the craft, so that's awesome. Some great samples. Um, and there's a track on this album for like any scenario or like any mood that you might have. So yeah, every track is great. So just a big fan of this one, and I definitely listened to this pretty consistently for like a month after it came out. So had to put it in my top three.
Nice. Yeah, I've heard a lot about
Hmm.
JPEG Mafia
Hmm.
from like hip hop heads.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I haven't been into rap very much, except like for a few artists.
Hmm.
Like I still like JID and
Hmm.
yeah, a couple other stuff here and there, but hasn't been on my radar recently.
Got it. All right, number one.
My number one of 21 is actually an EP. It's I
Hmm.
Became Birds by Home Is Where.
Ooh. Okay.
And I think you listened to this,
I
maybe?
did, and I listened to it when you told me about it, and then
Uh-huh.
Anthony Fantano interviewed the lead singer of the band for a
Yeah,
discussion
and
about
I
modern
watched that
emo, and
too.
it made me go back and listen to it again. So yeah, I do like this EP a lot.
Did you get Aeroplane Over the Sea vibes from
Mm,
this?
I didn't at first, but now that you say it, I could definitely put those two puzzle pieces together, at least as far as like maybe the lead singer's voice, and then also just sort of like the
Some of the instrumentation too, like the
instrumentation,
harmonica and
yeah,
I don't
and
know.
the sort of fantastical like lyrics, maybe like lyrics that
hmm
aren't grounded in particularly in reality.
Right.
So yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yeah. I just like how passionate the vocal performance is on
Hmm.
this. Like he is like really going for it.
Yeah.
And like Aeroplane Over the Sea, the kind of like composition is bit goes from fast pace and there's like harmonica, like big like build-ups with
Hmm.
harmonica and like fast acoustic guitars and then they slow it down.
Hmm. Yeah, I can totally
It's
see that.
yeah, it's like emo, but a little bit alternative,
Yeah,
I guess,
yeah,
influenced.
it's like emo alternative for people who grew up with like In the Airplane Over the Sea maybe as their favorite band in like high school or as their
Yeah,
favorite album in high school.
yeah. I would say, yeah, if you're trying to get into emo, this could be like an entry point for people.
Hmm.
Um, it's not as like sad boy emo. It's
No,
more
it's
like
not.
just
Yeah.
like, yelling vocals, like passionate vocals.
Hmm. That's
Yeah, I really like it, and I've been listening to it a lot the past year.
yeah. I just wish, like you said, it's an EP though, so it's like I
It
wish it
goes
was.
by very short, yeah.
It's quick. I
Hmm.
looking forward to if they release a full length LP.
Yeah, me too. And what was your number one?
Number one, I was surprised that this wasn't in your list. Maybe it's in your honorable mentions, but I my number one was "Glow On" by Turnstile.
Yeah, an honorable mention for me.
Okay, yeah, this one it didn't hit with me when I first listened to it. I liked it,
Hmm.
and I was like, "This is nice," but maybe within the last couple months, I've revisited it, and it's really struck a chord with me,
Hmm.
and just kind of like maybe what you think with the Dirty Nil. Like it's just a great rock album, like solid riffs, tight drumming, great vocals. Like everything just comes together to make like a solid package. And it has like this nice kind of throwback sound too.
Very
Um,
throwback.
that includes Turnstile's hardcore roots as well. So
Yeah. I
I like
described
it a
this
lot.
album as it should be the soundtrack to a Power Rangers movie.
That would be
Because
pretty badass.
it has like that 90s kind of nostalgia sound,
It sounds a little
but
like
also is like action packed.
yeah. It's I noted that it doesn't actually sound like Rage Against the Machine, but it's like adjacent to like Zach De La
Yeah,
Roma's like vocals or something. Something
right.
about it reminds me of like that '90s yeah
Hmm.
power rock. Um, and I don't know if you've seen. There's the release party live set for this is on YouTube, and it's like it like gets me stoked. Like there's it to be like in a hardcore like mosh pit again.
Oh yeah, I know that their fans go wild.
Yeah, and they're like stage diving like constantly at this massive mosh pit. So yeah,
That's cool.
it's cool that I love that you. I'll post a link to the YouTube video in this podcast description because it's definitely worth a watch and it's a great they're a great live band. So
Yeah. I think the reason they didn't make my top three was I just felt like that album the sound gets a little bit repetitive.
I can
Even
see
though the
that. Yeah.
songs and riffs are different,
Hmm.
like the sound is always the same throughout the entire thing.
Hmm.
So just by the middle, I start to get like a little bit bored with it, I guess.
That's a very fair critique.
But it
Um,
is super fun.
yeah, I like putting on when I'm like cooking or like doing something where it doesn't bother me. Like it would be in that
Hmm.
regards. It is kind of hard to sit down and just listen to it all the way
Right.
through. But if you have it as a background thing, or if you're at their live show, I think that would be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
Um, honorable mentions. Let's see, we're at 20 minutes here, so I think we're doing good on time. I'll just quickly go through mine.
Okay.
So you already said one was another kill for the highlight reel, and then my other honorable mention was "Ska Dream" by Jeff Rosenstock. Um,
Oh, I kind of forgot about
yeah,
that.
I had like kind of forgot about it too, but it's fun. At first, it is kind of like a haha joke, but like Jeff like put together like a great ska album with this,
Hmm.
and it's really fun to hear his reimaginings of these songs from No Dream, which are all good, into like kind of fun ska versions, and in some cases they might even be better than the original. So, um, ska, it's a fun album. Yeah, but definitely not one
I
of my favorites.
Yeah. I had forgotten about it, but yeah, it was fun. I liked listening to it.
Mhm.
I had for an honorable mention, Hey What by Low. I think I shared that with you. It's a
You
little
you did.
different, like
Hmm.
electronic style rock. But it was cool. I just thought it was unique and still the kind of like I don't know instrumental hooks like are catchy and
Hmm.
like melodic weirdly, even though they're all like very staticky. It's pretty cool. And I listened to Moto Mami by Rosalia, not like a ton, but I did like I overall I thought it was cool to listen to. It was different.
Yeah, that's 2022 though.
Oh shit, you're right. Now I'm just like listing things that I've listened to.
Yeah,
I
we can.
don't know
I do have
anymore.
some things that I did listen to this year. If we want to just quickly go through that, or last year.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I guess I already started.
yeah, go for it.
I guess I don't know what order I'm in now,
Hmm.
but then I thought Donda when it came out was
Hmm.
interesting, pretty different for Kanye. I thought some of the too long for sure
Yeah,
and a little too repetitive, but it has like some really good moments.
yeah. Did did you watch the Kanye documentary on Netflix?
I did, yeah. I watched the whole thing. I
Yeah,
thought that was
same.
pretty
It
cool.
was really good, and it kind of
Hmm.
like it's pretty heartbreaking, like towards the ends.
Yeah.
With
Yeah, the end is tough. Like the first
hmm.
two parts are really cool because it's all the build up, like
Yeah,
the how he became Kanye, and then
yeah,
the last part is like the fall of
yeah. It's like
Kanye.
really triumphant at the start, and then the end is very like stark and like the fall.
Yeah. Hmm. Interesting documentary though. Yeah, I
Hmm.
definitely recommend that. What else did you listen to?
Let's see. So yeah, this is definitely not a 2021 album, but it's the album called "I Trawl the Megahertz" by the band Prefab Sprout. Um,
What is it? What do we
so
have? What is happening?
so don't worry, I'll get to it. So this song originally, well, it's a whole album, but I'm specifically talking about the first track, which is a 22-minute spoken word like instrumental track,
Okay.
originally by the lead singer of Prefab Sprout. His name is Paddy McAloon, and he released this as like a solo project, but on Spotify and on streaming, you'll find it under the band Prefab Sprout. Um, it's just a very poetic spoken word instrumental piece. It's a bit indulgent at 22 minutes, but I think it's totally worth it to at least listen through it all the way once. It has like a ton of like those like goosebumpy lines and moments and build ups, and the I guess the premise of it was he had like a detached retina or like some sort of eye injury where he was basically blinded for several months, and he would just
Damn.
sit there and listen to the radio and like trawl the megahertz of the radio, and
Hmm.
he picked up all these snippets of different radio shows, and then he kind of like pastiched them together into this, and like the theme is like searching for like a lost love amongst the radio waves, and it's very heady kind of like and poetic like
Gotcha.
I said, but if
Hmm.
that's kind of your thing, I would recommend that to people. um I also listened to a ton of Charlie XCX this year.
Oh,
um really
like
got
back catalog?
back catalog, like her whole catalog. um I kind of got into hyper pop last year with like 100 gecs and Charlie
Hmm.
XCX and people like that. Dorian Electra, and so I don't know. I for whatever reason I just got into music that I had never really listened to as pop music, and
Yeah.
yeah, she has some great back catalog stuff. Vroom Vroom EP, uh, Pop Two, Charlie, her self titled album, like all great.
Hmm.
Her most recent release from 2022, I wasn't the biggest fan of, Crash, but yeah, it's her all of her stuff is like great, and she's definitely one of the best pop stars, maybe underappreciated in the mainstream.
Yeah, I like Charlie. I guess that's really
Hmm.
the only one I really listened to, but I did like it.
Hmm.
that kind of Charlie XCX kind of leads us into this album review.
It kind of does. Yeah. Very well put. So are we done with 2021 then?
Yeah, I'm fine to wrap it up there.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so I guess our main topic for today is the album "Ants from Up There" by Black Country New Road. Um, I found out about these guys a couple years ago in 2020 with the release of their first album, which is called. I will edit this out later. It's really escaping my mind right now. For the first time, which I really loved. Was this on my best of 2021 list? I feel like it had to have been,
Of
but
what
it's
year?
of 20 best of 2021 or best of
That
20
that we
best of
just did?
sorry, best of 2020 list.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay. Either way, fuck. If this came out in 2021, I fucked up. But anyway, I'll revert and say that this was my favorite of 2021. But I feel like it came out in 2020. Um, but yeah, it's very uh, angular, kind of experimental post rock type music. Uh, really fell in love with the band and was really stoked um, for their next album. I should say they sounded a lot like it was like kind of like Slint Worship on their last album. It was very much within
Yeah.
that realm. And so their sophomore follow up was really bigly hyped in my head,
Hmm.
and it did not disappoint. And so I loved it. Nobody I knew listened to it, and I needed somebody to talk to about it, so I had forced Matt to
So
listen
you
to it.
roped me in.
I wrote Matt. I said, "You have to be the guy."
I
Uh,
hadn't listened to them, so I had no expectations.
hmm
And so yeah, I kind of have like as we get into the review of this album, I have like a running like dialogue of what I was saying to myself in my head, and
Got it. Yeah, it would
it's
be interesting to
I was
hear.
questioning your decision making on this one at first. That's
Oh,
all I'll
come on.
say.
I thought, yeah, okay. That's
At
interesting.
first.
Like somebody who has never, yeah, this would be a weird album to jump into, like with no preconceived notion of like what you're getting into. Would be very, um, would that can be. It's definitely something. There's like some long tracks on here, very winding, very rich kid musicy. So
Yeah.
uh,
Instrumentals.
lots of instrumentals, strange spoken word, screaming type vocals, with a
Hmm.
British accent. All right, so yeah, I guess should we normally kind of just go track by track. So this will
Yeah.
be interesting to hear your like running your thought process here. So the intro track is just that. It's kind of like a
Instrumental
musical
intro.
instrumental intro, but it introduces kind of a lot of musical motifs that are going to show up throughout the album. And when the band was interviewed about it, I have several quotes from the band throughout this review, and their goal was to create a musical through line that moves, that the listener can grab onto and follow throughout the entire 10 track list album.
Hmm.
And it kind of moves right into that next track of Chaos Space Marine.
Yeah. So like as I'm listening to the intro, I was like, why
Mm-hmm.
did you recommend a bluegrass album? Because I don't
Yeah.
know if it would be bluegrass or it's kind of like country westernish sound. And it's just instrumental. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that's interesting. And then the first 15 seconds or so of Chaos Space Marine, also instrumental. So I'm thinking, okay, you just recommended a instrumental
I
album.
just like trolled you. I was like, listen to
Yeah.
this hour of instrumentals. Yeah.
And then it kind of gets into he starts singing. It's like, okay, it's
Mm-hmm.
not an instrumental album. This is interesting, but I don't really care for his voice.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think I started getting into the album a little bit later into this song.
Hmm.
The fiddle comes in, the horns pick up. It's like, okay, this is cool. This is like getting more epic. Even though
Hmm.
I don't like his voice at this point,
Hmm.
I'm like I'm like, okay, this is not just some weird out there thing that you recommended.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't do you like that. Um,
I trusted you all along. That's why I stuck with it.
thank you, thank you. But yeah, like Matt said, it goes intro goes straight into Chaos Space Marine, and yeah, I think the music that you're confused about, I think that genre might be called klezmer music, which
Okay.
is like Jewish music, like Hebrew, like when you like in a movie, if it cuts to like a bunch of like Orthodox Jews, like that's like the music that
Okay.
plays in the background. Like
I didn't recognize it as that, but it just sounds very old for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, it's like it's not something that is typically like in my rock album. This like it's not.
Yeah. Or like ballroom music or
Yeah,
something.
it's theatrical, and that's what I wrote for this. Isaac, the lead singer, is very theatrical and over the top singer.
I do get
He
that
like belts
sense.
out like "I'm coming home" like over this, and I love that being like kind of lyric a lyric guy for a long time, like with Bright Eyes and
Hmm.
kind of emo bands of the like. I really dig good lyrics, and this album sets up a lot of lyrical motifs that occur throughout the album as well, like the concept of uh, the Concorde airplane and
Yeah.
Billie Eilish. Um, but this is a very silly song, like at the heart of it, and
Oh,
I like it a lot. It's a great opener, and it's very upbeat.
okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't start getting into the album really until the third song, Concord,
Hmm.
to be honest.
Yep. And yeah, that brings us into the third song with Concord, which is um, a little history lesson. The Concorde was a airplane made in the like mid 1900s and eventually discontinued, I think, in the 90s. And it was like the only passenger airplane that ever broke that it could break supersonic speeds,
Hmm.
and you could get from New York City to England in a matter of like a few hours. So it was incredibly fast, but it caused a massive headache for people who lived around the airport because it would create a sonic boom when it took off,
Yeah.
and it would like
Hmm.
break windows and stuff. So
It
that,
also looks super weird.
yeah, it looks
It
weird.
has a strange design.
It's a interesting, yeah, piece of engineering, and it is kind of the I don't know, like the theme of this album, like comparing his past lover maybe to the Concorde, um,
Well,
and
my interpretation is
mhm,
so I guess Concord, yeah, is like a stand-in for his uh yeah, past lover or whatever,
mhm,
romantic partner or
yeah,
something. And my interpretation is like that it's this long distance relationship at one point.
mhm,
It's fast, it's strong,
yeah.
but doesn't work at the end
Oh, okay,
because
that's
this
good.
is kind of like a breakup
Mhm,
album, and like the Concord,
yeah.
it had to be discontinued.
Mhm.
So that was how I interpreted it.
That's ooh, that gave me chills, Matt. That was great.
I think I'm onto something.
Yeah, yeah, it was like, and I similar had a similar thing, but I took it a different way where like it's it's this airplane is an incredible feat of engineering, but it also like is destructive. Like
Mm.
it like rips through the sky or rips through his life. So even though he's
Uh,
infatuated with it, it like destroys him in a
ooh,
way.
yeah, I like
Um,
that.
and he'd do anything to share the same sky with this airplane, but it goes by so fast that he's out of breath when he's chasing after this plane, but it's already gone past him and left him in the dust. So
Mm.
it's like yeah, this lyrical theme shows up throughout the entire album, and I love it when albums do this. Like they have a very thought out and thorough track listing that everything ties together by the ends.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. Like lyrically, it is cool. Like, and it's kind of like a concept album where it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, obviously, like there's themes that were like thought of and thought all the way through and are, ebb and flow in and out of the entire album.
Hmm.
Um, and he often weaves like old and the new. Like, there's a song about like a I forget, like King Henry or something. It's
Yeah.
like very old, but then also Billie Eilish is in the
Hmm.
lyrics, like being compared to other characters in the stories.
Hmm.
It's interesting. I guess I like the level of like detail you need to be listening with, like to really pick up on those things. I didn't like get into it lyrically this album. Like
Hmm.
I kind of had to read along, and I felt like I guess it flew over like the Concorde. It flew over my head. So I didn't look at this album like too much lyrically, but
Hmm.
from the idea that it's like full and complete, like and thought out, I
Hmm.
definitely agree with that.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Like, even if you're not into the lyrics or you're not a lyric person, like the band themselves are not to be trifled with. Like
Yeah.
they like every song has like ebbs and flows and pushes and pulls and like great instrumentation, varied instruments. Like you could listen to this for the just for the instrumentation alone. This
That's
entire
what I
album.
really enjoyed.
Hmm.
And even on Concord, so it's like this kind of really like smooth and simple intro. It's just
Hmm.
like some bass, guitar, and drums, but then like it starts to build up, and this like a common theme. The mandolin and saxophone come in,
Yeah.
and suddenly like we have this like really like rich, complex, melodic song.
Hmm.
And that's like those are the songs that I like best, and that's what I notice is I think is actually well, I'll save it for the next song, but I think
Okay.
that's when I started to get into the vocals.
Got it. Okay, so yeah, the next song, Bread Song, um, it's kind of a much more somber start, but
Hmm.
just like you said, it really builds into this lush and beautiful arrangement around the chorus with all the instruments coming in.
Yeah, the intro is just like this finger picking acoustic melody,
Hmm.
and this is what I notice is I like his lyrics over the kind of like melancholic, simple
Hmm.
instrumentation. I like the way his voice sounds then. I don't like it at other times when I don't know, they're doing like kind of like a march, or he's doing like
Hmm.
the like spoken style.
Yeah.
But in this song, like it's very powerful. It's like this song almost has like a ancient like rustic sound to it. That's super cool.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm listening to it right now, trying to pick out the different parts.
There's some piano and strings that
Yeah.
kind of like build in,
Hmm.
like
And
build the
like and
tension.
cymbal crashes and like rolling on the cymbals, and it really like picks up and picks up. Um,
Yeah, the kind of the second part of this song, so it's like this slow like thing that builds up into the
hmm.
first chorus, and then now that we have that momentum, there's like this really cool drum riff that's just like on the snare head, like around the
Hmm.
rim, and it's like kind of like chaotic, but it's really, really good.
Hmm.
And that like keeps the momentum of the song going. This actually Bread Song is my favorite song on this album
Oh dang,
overall.
really? That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, then I was like,
Mm.
okay, this album is pretty awesome. Like everything here, like compositionally, like this is complex. Like it's really cool
Yeah, and
what
it's
they're doing.
what makes that extra cool is these like are like young kids. They're like in their mid to early 20s, like, and they have like a very mature grasp,
Refined.
yeah, and refined grasp on music composition already.
Yeah.
Um, which I guess maybe if you are into this band, like the lead singer announced that he was leaving the band, but the rest of the band themselves said that they are staying together. So I don't see it. It is a huge loss, but the fact that these folks are so like good at just making music themselves, and that it can be divorced, I think, from the lyrics, is really. I still think that they'll make great music moving forward without him.
Yeah,
Um,
it'll be interesting.
yeah.
And like kind of bigger picture, this album is kind of like lyrically talking about a breakup,
Hmm.
and this is basically like a breakup album, and
Yeah.
it's kind of ironic that the lead singer is breaking
He's
up with the
breaking up.
band as
Yeah.
well.
Hmm. Yeah. It's sad because this was like so good, and then it's kind of like unless he comes back, it's like this version of Black Country New Road is over, and it's
Hmm.
hard for as a fan.
Don't cry.
All right, so Brett's yeah, Brett song, great song. Um, I will move on to Goodwill Hunting, which is much more upbeat and kind of like maybe the most like standard like rock song that could be considered on the album. Like it actually has like a chorus you might be able to sing along to and like kind of headbang to a bit.
Hmm.
Um, with the "She Had Billie Eilish Style" that song or that
Yeah,
part, yeah. Great, yeah.
I don't.
It's got a good groove, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. His voice like during that part annoys me again.
Okay, okay. So yeah, it's like
Yeah.
when it's more like somber and down, you like it better than when it's like more upbeat or like you were saying.
Yes,
Okay, got it.
that's what I
Hmm.
found out.
Interesting. Um, I would say on this track, the and on almost all the tracks, like the mixing is incredible. Like
Hmm.
there's so many instruments and things happening, but like nothing is lost, and everything when you listen to this with headphones, like everything blends as it should and supports each other. Like there's nothing lost in the mixing, or there's nothing that dominates the mixing.
Right.
It sounds like this album just sounds so nice.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Hmm. Um, but yeah, I kind of like this album, or I kind of like this song. Lyrically, is kind of about. At least it starts with relatable daydreaming of like maybe you're pining after like a friend or somebody, and you're sort of daydreaming about chasing after them, and like your genius daughters in France during the summer, like really taking that daydream of love further. And I think
Hmm.
it's pretty relatable, like just coming up with scenarios in your head of like your perfect life with somebody.
Hmm. Summers in France.
Yeah, summers in France.
Is there any significance to the title of this song?
I couldn't find one. Like,
I,
I've never
I
seen the
just thought it
movie
was
Goodwill.
bizarre.
I've never seen the movie
Oh,
Goodwill Hunting, so I can't say for sure. But from
well,
what
you should see it
yeah, I know
for
it's
sure.
good. I know it's good.
But yeah, I don't know. Reading the lyrics, I didn't. If there was some kind of connection, I didn't
Hmm.
read into it.
Yep. Okay. And then kind of the next two tracks, I think are a bit of a palate cleanser, maybe like a slowdown before we get into the
Kind of like
r-
an interlude
yeah,
here.
yeah, kind of intermission a bit before we get
Hmm.
into like the what I consider like the emotional peak of the album with the last three tracks.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Haldern. This was originally an improvised act during a music it was called the Haldern Music
Hmm.
Festival live stream,
Hmm.
where they weren't allowed to play any unreleased music, so they were kind of put in a bind, and they're like, well, let's just improvise something, and they basically wrote the entire song on the spot right there. So this just comes straight from that, not one to one from that performance, but
Yeah.
you
That's
can
pretty
you
crazy.
can watch this on YouTube, like them sort of coming up with this song. So yeah, it's a good track, but I don't think
There's a nice sax intro.
yeah, great sax. Same with Mark's theme is almost a sax
It's like a sax solo.
solo at the start
Freebird, play Freebird on your sax.
on the sax. Um, but yeah, it's like I said, a palate cleanser before the heights and the climax of the album. and I don't really have too much to say about these two, but they fit well, and I like them.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Mhm. Okay, and then we have the place where he inserted the blade, which is like the most dramatic song maybe on the
Oh,
album.
extremely.
Yeah, most emotionally affecting and heart wrenching, and like just it's like it's like they set out to make like the saddest dramatic song, and they like really succeeded, I think, on this one, um, especially with like the title of it and the lyric, like "Show me the place where he inserted the blade," is like, who
Mm.
says that? Like,
Yeah. It's
it's
very bizarre.
incredibly dramatic, and I guess it's not when I first heard this, and it could be totally uh, interpreted as such, but I thought it was like literally or not literally where did he insert the blade, but where did he hurt you? But
Right.
it's it's actually like about him needing her or the partner to show him like how do I cut this he's making lunch and he needs somebody like a codependent partner to like show him like how do I do this, like he can't do things on his own, so he's like show
Oh,
me the place where I should insert the blade like to cut
yeah.
whatever I'm chopping. Yeah, and it's an incredibly dramatic way to say that.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah, I interpreted it the same way at first
Hmm.
until reading into it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of like this theatrical performance.
Hmm.
And the like instrumentation behind it also reflects that too. I really love like their slow starting songs, like
Hmm.
Bread Song, this song, where it's just like
It's
very
got
like
like a piano
slow,
ballad at the start.
yeah,
Hmm.
melodic, and then like things get like pick up and get crazy.
Yeah, yeah. This has yeah. I think they're like masters of that. Like
Hmm.
how none of their songs are static. They all are journeys. They all go places. And this whole album is a journey. Like it has its ebbs and flows. So I think it's excellent what they do there.
Yeah. And I think this is like the most dramatic and best chorus
Mhm.
of like because you really like just nail like those lyrics
Yeah,
like just
you can feel
blaring.
his pain. Like it
Yeah.
really comes through.
Hmm.
And yeah, as far as music goes, but like there's another great sax line in the back. There it comes in with group
Uh-huh.
vocals. There's that piano. It all blends together, and it's like it's super warm, and rich tone. Great
Yeah.
song.
It's funny that you like likened it as the like rich kid music genre, like to
Hmm.
define the kind of like genre. And I also use rich a lot in describing like each of the songs individually because
Hmm.
they are like they're full, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they
Like
are.
there's a lot
The,
in them.
the nothing about it is like sparse or stripped down. It's like they use everything that they can, and
Yeah.
sometimes that could be to its own detriment. But they find that balance.
Yeah, I
It's
think
not overproduced.
exactly. I think what you said about the mixing
Hmm.
is like exactly what one of the main things that makes it work. Like there's all these instruments, but nothing is overpowering. Like
Hmm.
the sax is on top when it needs to be. Then it's like a little mandolin like starts to build up, and then
Yeah, yeah.
everything comes together at the same time. But it's not like overpowering.
Hmm. Um, anything else to say about this song?
I don't have anything. And
Okay.
then we're on the penultimate song now.
Hmm.
Number nine
Snow
is
globes.
Snow Globes.
Hmm.
This is also cool. A slow melodic intro, but
Hmm.
again, like compositionally, everything picks up. And there's the female vocal harmony and
Hmm.
organ, I believe, which sounds super cool.
Hmm.
Um, and what is the so this is the lyrically
I have
actually
no idea.
yeah,
Like
it's very
I like
bizarre.
read some things up about it, and like you were saying, yeah, like Henry the Eighth or
And Catherine, so
Catherine.
if I
I don't
remember,
understand that story. Yeah.
yeah, if I remember correctly, King Henry marries someone else, and then the song is about how Catherine is like lamenting,
Hmm.
and no, he's gonna come back to me, even though he had to marry someone else.
Yeah,
He'll return to
I
me.
could see that interpretation for sure. But lyrically though, this song doesn't is not. I feel like there's not a ton to go off of other than the mention of like the name Henry.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know
so
how people like interpreted it that way.
yeah, but I mean I can see it, and the the lyrical theme of like snow globes don't shake on their own like can be interpreted in a ton of ways. Like what does that mean
Yeah.
to you? Um, from the band though, and when you listen to the song, it becomes very apparent like halfway through. The they when they were sitting down to write this, they had just listened to a different song that basically sounded like it was a Frank Ocean song where it sounded like even though it was one band playing, it sounded like it was two bands playing totally different things, and that's
Mm.
kind of what they wanted to capture here. The drum solo just goes off
Yeah.
in a different
It's like
direction.
completely different.
Yeah, and that's what they tried to capture, and I think that's interesting what they tried to do, but as I don't know if it succeeds at being good.
I actually
Like
liked it
you like
because
it, okay?
the melody kind of keeps everything together, and
Mm-hmm.
then I felt the drums, yeah, do go like off on their own, and they're just playing like this kind of chaotic riff, and I felt like
Mm,
there's like it that the drums kind of build this tension, like there's a storm over everything, and
yeah.
then the vocals also start matching the drums and get
Mm.
progressively more chaotic,
Yeah,
like in this
I
final
said
refrain.
they get unhinged. Like each
Yeah.
repetition of the snow globe lyric gets like more and more unhinged. Um, just like the drums get more and more just unhinged.
Hmm.
So I mean, I appreciate it, but I'm not sure. It can be you know yeah. It's not. I don't say I shouldn't say have said it wasn't good, but it's sometimes I'm like I'm not sure if I really enjoy it or not,
Yeah.
which is
Well, I
fine.
guess this wasn't like one of my favorite songs on the album if
Hmm.
I'm like just picking out favorite songs, but I think it works
Yeah,
ultimately within the frame of the album.
yeah, and I do love the after like the final refrain of the snow globes line that we have like a violin kind of solo that's sort of marching forward, keeping it a little bit more like triumphant or like upbeat, even though maybe
Hmm.
the lyrics were a little chaotic and unhinged. We have this structure that comes in afterwards with this violin, the da 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 da, and it kind of
Hmm.
it brings us forward after that.
Brings us forward into the final song on
Yeah,
the album.
which is my favorite song,
Hmm.
and I think it's
Okay.
both the emotional peak of the album. It ties together the entire album from a climax perspective, and in and of itself, the song itself is a journey through like it's like 12 minutes long and has multiple
Yeah.
passages. I think it's an incredible song, and it was actually a fan favorite, like a live song before their first album was even released. So I this one has like a lot of love for it already,
Yeah.
and I can see why this is like my if I could like write a perfect song, like this is what I would like. I would write something like this. I think
A, a
I really
perfect
love this song.
12-minute
A
song.
perfect 12 minute song. This would be like an EP. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
I love the intro. It's just like that. I don't know if it's bass or a cello, but it's just like the big old fat bass sound to start.
Mhm.
And yeah, throughout like I think the ebbs and flows, the peaks and valleys, like are what to me this album is really
Yeah.
about, and it's kind of like this entire song is a microcosm of that.
Yeah. And I think this song is kind of like Mark's. But before this song, the lyrics could be interpreted that the relationship is on the rocks or is kind of on again, off again. But this is kind of
Hmm.
like officially the relationship is over now. He's talking about how he's feeling kind of normal on the train, and they like train rides don't hurt that much these days. Saying like if you see him and he's looking okay, like know deep down that he's not actually feeling very good anymore still.
Hmm.
Um, so like this is kind of not only like the final song of the album, but it's like the final act of their relationship as well. So just more and more things you can like all tie together, which I love to do.
Yeah. And this does feature my favorite like lyrical line of
Mhm.
the album. We're all working on ourselves and we're praying that the rest don't mind how much we've changed.
Yeah, that lyric is like
It's
devastating.
cool. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, and
Uh,
it has. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, just like considering that I didn't understand like a lot of like
Hmm.
lyrically, where he's going with things.
Hmm.
I think it's always cool to have uh like a meta kind of lyric
Hmm.
somewhere in there that's like, oh yeah, this total everyone, whether or not like you're in like understand the breakup story and the Concord and all these
Hmm.
metaphors, like that's something people can relate to.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were saying like meta in the fact that he's saying like he's working on himself and he hopes that his band doesn't mind when he says that he wants to leave the band. Like,
Well, there's that too. That's always like kind of like
yeah.
it, over the entire album is
Hmm.
you can apply like all these breakup metaphors to the band breakup too.
Yeah.
And we also can tie in what we're the Charlie XCX
Yeah.
lead
It's
in finally to
it
this,
it may or may not explicitly be about a wet dream about Charlie XCX. I
which is
don't
very the most relatable lyric.
um but yeah, I from what I was reading, it used to be actually about Charlie XCX, but the song has undergone many revisions and it's no longer like literally about her. Um, but
Okay,
you could
open to
yeah,
interpretation
you can
now.
interpret it however you want to.
I
But
like the idea though that it's kind of again mixing like the old and the new.
mhm,
Concord is this old thing. King Henry, like kind of like a long time ago.
yeah,
Charlie XCX, Billie Eilish, like recent pop
mhm,
stars. It's kind of I don't know, it's disorienting in that sense a
yeah.
little bit, but makes it unique.
Mhm. And this final passage, the Charlie the Charlie part has my favorite lyric on the album, which is "Oh, your generous loan to me, your crippling interest." Um, and like it's I think like if you've ever been through like a bad breakup, like it's a great line because it encapsulates both like the personal gains of like a long relationship that maybe ended uh prematurely or badly, and also like the tremendous losses from that as well. Like you grew a lot, like you gained a lot, but you lost a ton as well.
Mhm,
um and each time that he repeats that like three times, and each time it just like snow globes, it gets more and more distressing. And
mhm,
I love that part, and it ends on it. And yeah, I think it's a great ender, and it if you have this on the album on loop, it ends on like a medley of a bunch of the other songs that have like you can hear a bunch of the other songs in fragments towards at the very end of
mm.
the song as it breaks down. And then if you have it on repeat, it sort of like
Leads
loops
into the
intro again.
oh
Yeah.
wow, I didn't
And
realize that.
mhm.
That's cool.
It's not a perfect loop, but if you squint, you can
Close
hear
enough.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I love it when I can only think of one album that does this, but I love it when one other album that does it. But I've always appreciated when like something ends with like a medley of all of the past songs that you've heard. And I think it's a great way to like close out an album.
Yeah, to conclude everything.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's it. But why is it called basketball shoes? Why is the name of the song basketball shoes?
Sometimes I feel like they went a very uh, low effort route with some of these song titles.
Yeah,
I have no
I
idea why
can't
it's called
pick
basketball
up on
shoes.
any pattern.
Hmm.
Some seem completely random. That's a minor critique, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, You could say that like what Blink 182 songs also like I can never remember the titles of their songs because they like are not
Some are really bad,
they're just all over the place. Yeah.
and some are like aliens exist
Yeah,
and shit
exactly.
like that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
But
Well, I will say in conclusion, this is not my favorite breakup album of all time.
fuck. God.
Best Buds by Mom Jeans is still my favorite.
Okay, nice.
But as far as breakup albums go, this really and I guess yeah, one thing that holds me back ultimately is just that like lyrically I didn't fully understand
Yeah.
everything that went into it, but instrumentally, like I love that. I could just listen to them, just play
Hmm.
music, and nothing else for a long, long time. I love that.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I wish I would have actually looked up all of my favorite breakup albums so I could have compared, but
Maybe
uh,
that's a separate podcast
yeah,
then.
off the top of my head, this is my new favorite breakups album because I can't think of any other ones.
Fair
Um,
enough.
maybe A to B Life by Me Without You. That was one of my favorites for a long time.
Okay.
Um, but what I can only think of Igor by
Oh, I didn't even realize Tyler
mhm,
the
yeah,
Creator.
that yeah, by Tyler the Creator. That's a breakup album.
Huh. I didn't even know.
Hmm. Maybe yeah, maybe that could be a next topic. Um, but yeah, I love this album. I give it a 10. Like this is a 10 out of 10. I would give this very high like on my
Wow.
on my on my 1 to 5 scale. Like love it. I I don't know. Maybe it's
Very likely to listen to this album.
very highly likely to re-listen. Highly likely to put this if we did like a best of the year. I would probably like this would be a hard. This is a hard contender. Like something really
Hmm.
special would have to come out to top this one.
Gotcha. That's interesting because I don't think of this album as like very re-listenable because it's such a, to me, it's such a like sit down and listen to the whole
Hmm.
thing and not do anything else type
Yeah.
album. Um, which it's really good at. It's really
Hmm.
good at that. It keeps your attention the entire time. But I guess I just tend to like and enjoy more the albums that I can like go in and out of, listen to like while I'm doing something else. I tend
Yeah.
to like revisit those more often.
I can see that's yeah. That's a fair critique of the listenability of this. Um, I find when I listen to this, I find myself like I'll listen to like a quarter of it and then I'll
Hmm.
stop, and then when I have another chance, I'll listen to like the next quarter. So I think
Mm,
I've heard it through enough times already that I can break it up and it's fine. But I would
interesting.
suggest on your first listen to definitely sit down for the whole hour and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's one of those where like you
Hmm.
don't even really want a distraction.
Yeah.
Um, I and then I've had an idea to kind of wrap things up and tie in the beer portion of this
Okay.
to
Okay.
compare the album to a kind of a type and style of beer.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would say this album pairs well with a French style farmhouse ale.
Mm, more. That's
A
some rich kid shit.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then it ties back into like the summers in France
Hmm.
and a beer that's like funky, fruity, dry but complex. I feel like
Yeah, your like
that's the kind of thing I
your
can
bohemian friend would recommend it to you. Like this, you got
exactly.
to try this farmhouse French ale. Um, I
That's
don't
what
think
I
I can.
wanted to be drinking
I
when
can't
listening to
I
this.
can't top that, Matt. That's a good comparison.
Yeah, I felt really good about that one.
Nice. Well, cool. We I think we hit the that 70 69 69 minute mark. So
Oh, perfect. We got a
um
supper right now.
yeah. Any sign
Nice.
off? So hopefully.
No, I
Hmm.
don't know when we'll be back. Hopefully, we find another album
Hmm.
like this that's really interesting and captures our attention and something that we need to talk about. But we'll see.
Yep. Sounds good, man. Well, yeah, it's good talking, and FTMB out.
See ya.
Peace.